Good morning. I hope you woke up well on this Sunday morning. We thank God for waking us up this day and for this new week. And this new week, we're going to be studying lesson 11, and it's talking about the Old Covenant. And to study with you is Dorcas Wanganga from Washington. And I hope you are all going to be blessed by these lessons as we've been blessed by the previous ones. So in the Old Covenant, we are going to read the memory text, which is Hebrews 8, verse 8, and it says, "Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah." So this is God talking about a new covenant, and I think as we go along, we'll see that there is an old covenant and a new covenant, and we broke the old covenant. Basically, it talks about the Israelites, but that's also pointing to us. And so as we study more, we'll understand a little bit more of what God is talking about. And in the youth instructor, we see that God saw what was going on in the camp. He saw that the people, even while the divine glory still rested upon Sinai, had yielded to the temptations of Satan and were plotting against the rule which they had promised to obey. So we'll go further and see that the Israelites had made a promise in Sinai, and it didn't take them long to break it. So we see that going on to Sunday, we're talking about slavery confuses the mind. And here we're going to be talking about the slavery of the Israelites in Egypt, but we're going to see that it's way more than just being physically enslaved or being in bondage in Egypt. And so we are asked, what was the situation of Israel for a number of years, and how did that situation affect their knowledge of God and his laws? So we know that they had been in bondage for about at least 400 years. And they had lost the knowledge of God and his laws. So not only were they physically enslaved, but they were also in slavery to sin, in slavery to idolatry. They had adopted so many things from the Egyptians. And so God was taking the Israelites from that bondage. And he was teaching them about himself, taking them back to his knowledge and his laws. And so in the paragraph over there, we see that it says at the end there that there was still a greater truth to be impressed upon their minds. Living in the midst of idolatry and corruption, they had no true conception of the holiness of God. So they had lost what it means to have a holy God. And they had not realized just how sinful they were, and in their utter inability in themselves to render obedience to God's law, and their need of a savior. And God needed to teach them this, and that's why he took them to Sinai, and he took them out of Egypt. He could not have taught them these things while they were in Egypt. They had to get out for him to teach them this. And so we are asked, where did God bring them in order that they might understand the holiness and secretness of his law? So as we have seen in Exodus 19, it tells us that they were in the wilderness of Sinai. We see that through Moses, God spoke with the children of Israel, and he was seeking to teach them. You know, he had chosen them, as he had made a promise to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob. And so he was fulfilling his promise that he was going to take them out. But he was doing much more than just taking them out physically, but he was also taking them away. He was teaching them to get away from their sin of idolatry and all that they had learned in the years that they were in Egypt. So we see how slavery confuses the mind. You feel like you are okay when you're actually a slave, and that's something to think about and ask ourselves. What kind of slavery are we still stuck in, and are we allowing the Lord to get us out of that kind of slavery? So as we think of these words, let's meet again tomorrow and continue with this study. Have a blessed Sunday.